one of the ways to make sure you give every student the sort of support and help they need is to identify people in perhaps different sort of learning abilities. And I think we have a rather controversial practice that's not terribly popular among the populace. I understand, Dr. Chandroo, you have a question on that.
Yes. We are one of the very few countries in the world where we have this streaming system. Now, first is how important it is. And is streaming a boon or a bane?
Every child is different. Every child learns at a different pace. In order to help every child learn better, you have to set the pace of learning at a level that is comfortable for the child. It's like running. Some of us run faster, some of us run slower. And if you try and force everybody to run at the same pace, you have a problem. So what is important is that you don't want the child who is a fast learner to be bored and the child who is slower to feel demoralized. So streaming is really a way to help them to be at their best.
Let me just share with you maybe how streaming has benefited me as a teacher.
Right.
Imagine without streaming, and I'm teaching a concept to a class of students. Some may be linguistically more inclined, some may be visually more inclined, some may be kinesthetically more inclined. Assuming I'm teaching science and I'm using the whiteboard or the PowerPoint slides. And there could be groups of students within this class who can't wait to get their hands on something to learn science. I'm not doing justice to the students because I'm attending to the many students who are linguistically inclined.
The concept is good, but are we starting too early?
No, in fact, we have abolished streaming at a primary school. Primary 1, there are no exams too, because the students get a report that gives parents a more rounded picture of how the children are doing. So we are actually making lots of changes in our system, and this would take time for us to appreciate the effects of those changes.
Here there are no exams,
Yeah.
but here there are tests. Nevertheless, there is still an ingrained fear that my child's not going to succeed, and therefore I have to put them in tuition centers and enrichment centers, that there are situations where there are tests and the tests add stress to me.
Actually, good tests are not a bad thing because it gives a feedback.
You mentioned that we do away with streaming. Then why do we still have PSLE for that matter?
The PSLE allows us to know whether at the end of 6 years of basic education, whether the child has learned the basic concepts in order to progress to the next level. It provides important feedback to the students, it provides important feedback to parents and to teachers. And it is not the end-all or be-all. I've studied school systems that have completely abolished the PSLE and even the O-level. The Koreans provide an example. It is a high aspiration society and everybody feels that the paper qualification is extremely important.
That's right.
So you can abolish the PSLE, you can abolish the O-level, and yet the pressure has not abated, but has gotten worse. And that is because if in our society we feel that there's only one path to success, the pressure will always be there. One Chinese principal said, you know, our education system is like hundreds of thousands of horsemen, all jostling to cross one narrow wooden bridge. Now, can you imagine how stressful that's going to be? What we are hoping to do is to make sure that we don't have just one small, narrow wooden bridge, but we have many bridges to many different destinations, because the reality is there's going to be a variety of jobs in our economy, a variety of ways of fulfilling our aspirations. And if we see that there are many different pathways, we're all not going to have to jostle for that one small, narrow wooden bridge. In my days, our PSLE results slip only says pass or fail. Is that a better system? I personally think so. Can we go back to that system? I don't know. If parents support me in doing that, I'll be happy to go back to that system.
Yeah, what you said just now about PSLE, it serves solely as a marker to see whether you've passed the level. So why does it matter if, let's say, you've done like extremely well in it, or you've just passed it and you've understood your basics? Because to me, if, let's say, we inculcated like a pass-fail kind of culture, then the rest of it would come from things like CCA, like other aspects and ways of measuring someone's value or personality.
One of the things that we ought to do is to place less emphasis on exams and look at how we can have broader measure and also not have such a sharp distinction across different grades. The PSLE results don't determine your life. If we look back at the last 50 years, our education system has changed significantly. During my time, more than half of my classmates failed the PSLE, and the options available to them are very limited. Many of them ended up as hawkers or they started work. Today, we have an education system that has many, many different pathways. So even for students who didn't do well at the PSLE, they can continue their studies. And at every stage now, we have very specialized programs to cater to the pace of learning of the students. Doesn't matter whether you learn at a faster pace or a slower pace, but just continue learning and make the best use of all these different pathways to get to where you want to go.
That actually brings up my next point, because I was going to ask you
Yes.
what you thought about the gifted education program. Because to my knowledge, you have to do very well in your grades in order to get into this program. I did not get into the program. My tiff with it is actually because you abolish streaming, and that's great. But the gifted education program, I think, is necessary for everybody, because it doesn't teach just advanced math or advanced science. It actually delves more into knowledge, into thinking, and really training a child to think for themselves. And to me, that's what education is. So what are your opinions on the gifted education program?
What we must do in our education system is to develop the talents of our students as fully as possible, at all levels, across all domains. So we have students who are very talented in the arts, in music, in sports. When we run these programs, it is not just for these students. We learn a lot about how to teach different types of students and how to teach them better. And many of the things that we do in the gifted program, in the sports program, in the arts program, we then distill the essence of it and try to provide it to the rest of the school system. And that is why we now have a range of very good sports, arts and music program and thinking programs across our school. I fully agree with you that where the programs can be used more broadly, we should do so.
Those who go to SAP schools, Special Assistance Plan schools,
Yes.
those schools still exist.
Yes, they do. Well, Special Assistance Plan School provides the bicultural and bilingual programs. So students take Chinese at a higher level. And it's part of our history, because we used to have lots of Chinese schools. And Special Assistance School add to the diversity in our school landscape. It allows us to build that strength of students who have a particular ability in a language. And in fact, we provide a lot of language learning programs, whether it is learning the mother tongue language of Malay and Tamil at a higher level, or taking a third language. Again, it's the same concept. Where students are good in particular areas, we should give them more opportunities to learn more. Now, in the case of the Special Assistance Plan School, there's also emphasis, of course, on cultural values. And it's important for us to retain our cultural values. We shouldn't have cookie-cutter style schools where every school looks like every other school. They offer exactly the same program. We need many more specialized schools. You have a distinctive landscape of very variegated schools, be it sports schools, School of the Arts, Special Assistance School. And indeed, even all our other schools need to be differentiated so that they can be distinctive.
But the SAP is only offered in Mandarin,
Yes.
not for the other languages like Malay or
Yeah.
Tamil.
Well, because I think you need a certain critical mass of students to be able to run this program.
Can all schools be good schools? Is there something you can overcome and convince everybody?
Every school a good school does not mean every school the same school. What it means is that we have a good school for every child. And what is a good school? A good school is not one that can be measured just purely by academic grades. What we are looking for is the value add that the school brings. So a good school is one that has caring educators, is one where the school makes the effort to understand the needs of the children in the school and provide suitable developmental opportunities that is suited to their learning. And at the end, the student is able to say, I had a great experience in this school. I become more confident, I learn, and I can go on learning. And that requires the support of everyone, parents, teachers working together to help the child to be at their best.
One of the projects that we've been doing is to go to mines and to go to the children's orphanage to find out what they really want. And coming back to school and develop toys that work on physics principles. Here's an invention by a group of students. They wanted to make the story of Rapunzel. So we worked together and they thought of using pulleys. While this is being done in the science lessons, you can see the art coming in. And the English teacher in the school trains the students up on how they're going to tell that story. And with this comes PowerPoint slides. They learn computer applications. And when they go back to that school and they present it to the children there, they find a sense of self-worth. And when we go through all these programs, what happens is that we instill things like responsibility, responsible for the materials, respecting each other, resilience. While it looks perfect and all good, it didn't work in the first time. And that's why they keep going. And resourcefulness. We don't have a very expensive equipment here. They just use recycled materials. So that's one way how schools like mine, neighborhood schools, coming up with students who can showcase inventive thinking.
So ultimately, good schools is about caring educators, skillful educators, who can engage the students in a very deep way using a variety of teaching methods.
So what grades do they get?